This was my first ever camera, a Kodak S100 EF snapshot camera that used 35mm film. And the last time I used it was probably 20 years ago. I found it while going through my things in my hometown early this year, and feeling a bit of nostalgia, I decided to bring it back with me to the city where I lived. But for almost 7 months, this camera stayed in a plastic container until about 2 weeks ago when I was Marie Kondoing my condo and I rediscovered the camera and decided, yeah, I think I want to shoot with film again. Of course, I had to clean it first because it had gathered a whole lot of dust, get some film, I got some Kodak Colorplus, and I essentially had to relearn how to use this camera. Now, as a kid, the technicalities of photography went over my head because I just wanted to take pictures. I didn't know what ISO was, let alone shutter speed and aperture. But I've learned a lot more since then, and on and off throughout the years, I've always found myself gravitating toward film photography. So on a weekend, I took my new, old camera out for a little photo walk, bringing with me that childlike enthusiasm to capture memories and also the lack of knowledge with the film format, to try to see how it would feel to do analog photography again, and hopefully get a good picture or two. So after the roll was finished, I sent it over to a local developing lab, and after a couple of days, I got an email. The grain is so cool though. Oh, I like this. Okay, that was pretty bad. So let me tell you a little bit about the Kodak S100 before we get into shooting some photos. This is a 35mm film camera that was produced in 1988 to 1993. It has a fixed focal length of 35mm, a maximum aperture of 4.5, and a fixed shutter speed of 1/100th of a second. The aperture could be changed by adjusting the ISO setting right here below the lens, and by switching the flash on, the widest aperture could be selected. This is an all-mechanical camera, which means it can be used without any batteries to take photos, but if you want to use the flash, you'll need two AA batteries. Unfortunately, my battery compartment had some corrosion, and though I did try to clean mine, I couldn't completely remove those acid bits and couldn't get the flash to fire. I also suspect that the flash has a problem because, well, this camera is old. Fun fact, the camera was originally sold at about $60, but on checking now can be found on eBay anywhere from $10 to $130, depending on its condition. Of course, for me, this camera is priceless. To load the film, open the back cover, lift the rewind knob, follow the diagram to position it properly, then push the knob down to secure your film roll. Then pull out the leader part of the film to the opposite side where the take-up spool is, align the film strip with the sprockets, and then close the back cover. Then you can turn the film advance wheel, and making sure that the camera lens cover is open, you can press the shutter button. Do this again until the frame counter reads 1. And one nice feature I found was that this back cover has a window that allows you to see the film that you loaded, just in case you'd left your film in there 25 years ago and forgot all about it, like I did. I'm kidding. So a little side story, and again, let me preface this by the fact that I hadn't used this camera in the longest time and have vague memories of my aunt who owned a camera shop who would load the film for me so I didn't have to worry about it. So this step actually left me with a lot of anxiety, and after taking a few test shots, I somehow got it into my head that maybe I didn't load the film correctly, which led me to open the back cover in the partial darkness of my bathroom to check. I was wrong. It was loaded correctly, so yes, trust the process and don't panic like me, because this is what could happen to those first few shots. Well, maybe it's art. So that weekend, we went out, took photos, went to this super cool bookstore, and had coffee. another one. For the next couple of days after that, I brought the camera everywhere with me. And though it's not as pocketable as my phone, it's still pretty much pocketable. And from time to time, when I would see something visually interesting, I would snap a photo. But before I show you some of my favorites, let me show you how to unload the film first. So when you've taken your last photo and can no longer turn the film advance wheel, press the film rewind button at the bottom of the camera, lift the rewind crank, and rotate it towards the direction of the arrow. You'll feel the crank lose resistance and turn more smoothly once the film has been rewound completely. After that, I sent my film roll over to Sunny 16 Lab. They process color, black and white film, and some other formats. And after a few days, they'll send you back your negatives and a Google folder with your scanned photos. So after all of that, were there any good photos? Well, I think I had a few keepers. I know they're not the best, but I think they're beautiful, and they'll always remind me of the things I saw and experienced on those days. Getting back into film, it was really a fun experience. Yes, out of the 36 shots that I took, I messed up and underexposed a lot of them. But that's really the way I learn, by making mistakes and rewiring my brain. And this also made me realize how much I take for granted the camera technology we have now, like just being able to change ISO on the fly, and that I have no idea what a sunny day is because this film stock really needs a lot of light. Even though I made a lot of mistakes, I think I'm going to give film a try for a while. And I'm sure there'll be plenty more, but I'd love to be able to capture future memories in a more tangible and more analog format. Yes, it is an unforgiving medium, but when you get it right, I think that's where the beauty of film photography is. Because that time away after you snap that photo and not being able to see it in an instant to when you finally get to check your film, it makes you appreciate the art a little bit more. The best feeling, I think, is when you find that one or two unexpected photo that just makes you say, hey, that's cool. Oh yeah, and I did get another camera.